Hello, and welcome back to Sharing a Chapter a Day. This is Do, Ra, me, and today I will be reading Chapter 118 of Engagement in Peril by Dara, Odoe, Sok. Chapter 118 is titled The Rage, Desperate Times, Innocent Lost. Corporal Jackson Bradford was left alone to himself outside the Sakura Bar establishment. Though he still wanted to drink and had banged on the front door several times trying to get in, they had locked him out and left him out in the cold that very early Christmas morning. He staggered back to his command. He slowly wandered with his dragging pace along the inch-high snow, at times slipping his way toward his destination. Kushina had finished helping with the cleaning and preparation of the bar with her early morning Christmas gift in hand, and having greeted her boss and co-worker goodbye and wishing them well a Merry Christmas and happy celebration, she too made her way home on her usual route since she lived only minutes away from the bar. Happily, she walked her way home with warm thoughts of friends and family. She couldn't wait for tomorrow morning, when her entire family would wake up and share each other's company with exchanges of love and gifts on this festive day. Just the thoughts of sharing the morning with her loving siblings and parents was all she wanted for a present. She wanted nothing more, just to be with her family and being with them within the warmth of their cozy home. Lost in warm thoughts and hope, Kushina didn't bother paying attention to her surrounding or whereabouts. She kept her steady pace toward her two-bedroom home while holding on to her gift, scarf, and coat to keep her soft, delicate body warm against that cold, frigid winter that really early Christmas morning. While Kushina kept on her way home without worries and not bothering to look about her surrounding, Bradford was still staggering and pissed about his recent ordeal at the Sakura Bar. While trying to keep the slow falling snowstorm from his face and eyes that early morning, he noticed a petite Japanese girl walking about across the block from him. He thought nothing of it at first, but then his demonic urges came through, and he wanted to unload his anger on someone nearby. Like a savage beast, and with his military and marine training of stalking and evading the enemy, he phantom-like his pace and followed a poor, defenseless Kushina. Silently he heard his pace across the street and headed toward that innocent teen girl's direction. Behind her, he had maneuvered himself, keeping in a slight distance, making sure he was unnoticed by her. He began to pace her pace. Step for step, he mimicked her, just like his training and taught him to do. He was putting his step in hers. Kushina stopped several times to look back, but noticed nothing strange or out of the ordinary. She continued on her way home, with smiles of what will happen tomorrow morning when everyone in her family wakes up. She warmly walked without any inclination of an eerie situation that awaited her seconds later. Bradford waited for the right time and right opportunity to open itself to him, and seconds later, after a good several blocks of pacing Kushina, this opportunity of unwarranted sin was given to him. Kushina had just stepped into an alleyway, and Bradford made his sudden, demonic scoop and snatch. He snatched Kushina up by her waist in one arm, and with his free hand he muffled her screams and cries by suffocating her open mouth. With Kushina in his vice-like grip, he thrust the both of them into the alleyway, while he dragged her deeper and deeper away from the lit street. Bradford hadn't noticed yet that this was Kushina he had in his rough, heavy arms then. He just knew that he wanted him some relief. He's gonna do this to whomever. Scared out of her mind, Kushina kicked and swung, to no avail. Her small petite stature wasn't able to overpower the marine-trained brute that had her in his clutches. As quick as he snatched Kushina into the alleyway, Bradford threw her against the concrete building wall, knocking her out in the process as her head collided against the cemented brick of the concrete building. In his rage, Bradford tore away Kushina's coat and blouse beneath, while groping and prying at her small, young, delicate, firm bosom and body. He bit and licked all over her. He was French kissing an unconscious girl and jabbing his devil-like finger into her mouth. All steamed up and red to his face. From anger and rage, he went about and jammed his fist into her lower private part. With his hand, he stabbed at her soft white cotton panty and ripped away it from her limp body. With his mouth foaming with rage and animalistic instinct, he pulled down his camouflage trouser and jabbed his protruding penis into the poor, delicate Kushina. From his sudden penetration and sharp pain inflicted upon her once virgin body, Kushina came to and tried once again to scream for help, screaming from the pain of being sexually assaulted by this demon. Bradford had noticed this sudden awakening from the Kushina and once again slammed his hand shut upon her now teary, weary face. With his weight and force upon atop her small body, he continued to thrust and thrust his anger and rage into her. Murmuring words and sounds of unrecognizable speech, he thrust harder and harder into her, tearing into her orifice and damaging her from within. Kushina cried in pain. Although her cries was muffled by Bradford's force, she cried in pain, excruciating pain, pain that she had never felt before. She bled all over his erect, uncontrollable penis and upon thighs and upper thighs. Bled all over his camouflage trouser. Bradford didn't care. He didn't realize what he was doing. All he wanted then was to release his rage into the young girl that he had kidnapped and taken advantage of then and there. Forcefully and fucking the shit out of this poor, delicate girl. Several minutes of heavy, constant, rapid thrusting. Bradford climaxed and shot his desperate load into Kushina's awaiting fearful uterus then. Still with his body and hands heavy clutch upon Kushina's face and body, Bradford relaxed for a bit, allowing Kushina to let out one last desperate scream. Her scream echoed throughout the dark alleyway, luckily alerting one of the patrolling local officer who was doing his round on foot that night. From the sudden cry of shrill pain, he looked about, all over, focusing on the direction of the scream and figuring out where it was coming from. Without hesitation, the officer blew his whistle, alerting the other patrolmen who were also doing their rounds to come to his aid. He ran toward the cried sound and found the drunk out of Marine. He ran toward the loud cry and found the drunk out of his mind Marine lying atop his poor, defenseless daughter, with his hips still trying to thrust into her. Kushina saw her rescuer's face. Her father had come to her side and answered her cries. In anger from seeing his daughter in such pain and thrusts and tears, the officer kicked Bradford off his damaged daughter's body and pulled out his wooden nightstick and wailed at the drunk, exhausted Marine. Blows after blow he handed down on Bradford's body and head. Crying in tears of anger in his native tongue, he cursed the day that Japan allowed the United States Armed Forces to occupy their land and territory. If it wasn't for his fellow night officer who stopped Kushina's father from continuing to wail at Bradford, he might have killed that ignorant rapist during that early Christmas morning. Once Kushina's father was subdued and slightly calmed down from his terrifying mourning, he took up his poor torn daughter in his arm and carried her limp body the rest of the way home, while his fellow officer put the bruised up Corporal Jackson Bradford in handcuffs and took him into custody. Bradford was still drunk out of his mind and didn't feel the pain or even realize it had been what had happened moments ago when he raped a poor Japanese girl. While carrying his oldest daughter and walking toward his home, both daughter and father cried. Both had heavy tears trickling down their scared, weary face. Kushina's father apologized for not being there sooner to help his daughter. He wished he had been there to escort her home from her workplace. He blamed himself for the terrifying action that was taken upon her. He cried and cried, more so than Kushina herself. Once home, Kushina's mother was waiting and worried about her daughter's whereabouts, and from the sight of her husband holding their daughter in his arms and their face filled with tears, she too broke down, and on her knees she too cried. Daughter, father, and mother cried that night as they discussed about what had happened and what they could do to bring justice for their family. Kushina herself didn't remember all that happened to her once she had left work and headed home that early Christmas morning. All she remembered was the extreme pain she suffered when she came to from being knocked out and finding her father at her side. Her father told the family that he would do his best to bring this attention to the public and media on how the U.S. military are the devil and should leave their land. He promised his daughter justice and that she should not be ashamed, that she should not be shameful of what had happened to her just then. Once everyone had calmed down and turned in for the morning to get some deserved needed rest, Kushina's home was visited by several higher-ranking local officers and several U.S. Marine military police. They informed the Shinigami family of the arrest and charge of Corporal Jackson Bradford and needed a confirmation of the assailant that had attacked their daughter Kushina that morning. As they talked, a Japanese translator was advising Kushina of her rights to press charges, and that the Japanese government would pursue a harsh punishment for this person, to the letter of the law, of course, but also inform her that the U.S. military had the ultimate say in his punishment since he is a U.S. military personnel then. After talks and handing down the document of the incident, Kushina and her father were escorted in several military jeeps toward the massive U.S. military command. While they rode on the bumpy jeep, they slowly talked in their native tongue with the Japanese translator listening on, minding his own business, just keeping his ear open to their soft conversation. Kushina's father did all the talking. He just reassured his worried daughter and told her not to fear, that he will be there for her and that he will do his best to get her justice. Thank you for listening. This is the end of chapter 118. Be on the lookout for chapter 119, titled The Deal Given by and from the Power That Be. This is Do, Ra, me, and I'll see you later. Thank you.